What is up? What is up? Welcome to BDC Live, everybody. Yes, welcome.
Guess who we have tonight with us? Oh, you already said, didn't you? You gave it away.
What?
Yeah, who's
Oh.
behind producing?
On the post.
Yeah, he gave it away
Oh.
already. Aww.
Everybody, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Let's light it up. Light up that like button. Let's make sure that you're subscribed and share. Make sure that you share tonight's post. We're talking about hiring practices. I know that all you guys have it all down. You guys know exactly what you want to do. And we have James Lewis, the voice of God, producing tonight's episode.
What's up, everybody?
Late night with James Lewis.
You send me $5, I will have James record your voicemail.
Oh, I love it. $5. Yeah, how would that go, James?
Yeah, do the voicemail.
Do a voicemail. Do it. Yeah.
You've reached Sean Dill. Leave your name and number. I'll get right back to you when I'm done golfing.
James Lewis.
So if you want your personalized voicemail, please, $5. $5 goes into the pot. Smooth, people are saying.
Yeah,
Smooth,
it's the voice of God.
smooth jazz.
You can put a little
voice.
R&B behind that.
Oh yeah. Mm.
If you're single, Sean can't come to the phone right now.
Oh yeah. You know what? I had a really good answering machine message.
Like Diamond Lacey.
No.
Is that what it was?
No.
Oh.
No, I can't do it.
Okay, go ahead, do it.
No.
Go ahead. Oh, wait.
I used to say, well, I may be gone, but my phone's still on. So please leave a message at the beep so the silly machine can earn its keep. Thanks for calling. Bye-bye. No? Nobody else had cool messages? Okay. Moving on.
The show's
We have
ruined.
$300 to give away tonight.
The show's ruined with that.
No, it was saved.
Sorry, the show is ruined.
I just saved the show. Look it. See? I saved the show.
I ate my dinner in 5 minutes, and now I'm like all like bleh.
Stuffy. I know. Well, it's okay. All right, $300, 3 names tonight.
$300 and
One
3
lucky
names.
winner,
We had a winner
$300.
last week.
Yep.
So that means we reset $300. That means that there'll be about 3 people
Yep.
on today. But I mean,
We already have 36 people on today.
well, they
People are
need to
rolling
call their friends because we're talking about hiring. And if you've got hiring figured out, then you're good.
in. Yeah.
If not, we're going to be talking about that today. Hey, what kind of slides we got, James? We should let
What are
you
we
run
talking
the. We
about?
should let you run the announcements. Do it in your
I
voice
know.
of God.
I feel like we
Just
should.
throw the slide up there and then narrate for us.
All right, here we go. We've got Cairo Sushi Samurai, the #1 community for chiropractors. Make sure that you get in there. We've got 2 brand new shows heading up this week. We've got Grant's Rants by Dr. Grant Dennis, and then also debuted this week with Dr. Jack Borla, president of Sherman College of Chiropractic, Thought Flashes. So make sure you get into the Samurai of Cairo Sushi if you are a chiropractor and you want to get plugged in with some of those shows.
Nailed it.
www.kairosushi.com. In fact, scratch that. I don't think you put the www.
No,
Just
that's your old school.
kairosushi.com. Kairosushi.com. We've got Grant's Rants. We've got Thought Flashes. I've got another one. Another 1 or 2 programs that I'm in discussions with on personalities. The reason why this is important is because we're going to get to 5 personalities. We're going to have 5 shows, 5 live shows every single week at 8 p.m. Eastern that we're dropping. And once we have all that built out on your platform, you'll be able to access past shows, binge watch.
They're already up and rolling.
And then we'll be able to move to sponsorships. We'll be able to move to all kinds of really cool stuff. And so you want to get in now because obviously the price of membership, the price of access is going to go up.
Yep.
What do you got, James?
We have in 2 weeks the Scotland Mastermind, the experiential mastermind with, of course, Sean Lacey and David Meltzer. I'm super excited to be going on this trip. I mean, you just take a look at this photo, and I'm going to be taking the drone with me. So I'm probably going to be taking some similar shots like this, but I can't wait to go to Scotland. I think they're trying to convince me to buy and wear a kilt. We'll see if that happens or not. I didn't realize
And
that
don't
the
worry,
way.
then I will be taking the photos so somebody can capture it.
Well, I also didn't realize how they wear the kilt, so that'll be the real test to see if I actually put one of those on. But nonetheless, I'll be super excited for everybody coming out to the Kinross Castle in Scotland. That's going to be pretty awesome.
Yep. Yeah, we're super
You
excited.
got to
for
reach
that.
out. You got to reach out either to Luke. That's the best one. Luke at blackdiamondclub.com. If you would like to join us, we have one spot remaining. If you're in Black Diamond Club, a couple people have some spots. I think that they're offering some pretty killer deals. But if you want to join us there, it's going to be amazing.
It's just going to be amazing, period. Yeah, they're going to do golfing at St. Andrews, and I'm going to take a bunch of people on a castle tour.
The Monday
high
before,
tea.
we're golfing at Glen Eagles. And then on the Friday after, we'll be St.
Andrews. Got it.
You got one more?
What do we got?
One more. Money Matters is coming to Indianapolis.
Indianapolis.
Great place, by the way. That's July 28th and 29th here in Indianapolis. One of the best workshops to attend for Black Diamond Club members. Get your money mindset right. Of course, Sean and Lacey are going to be breaking that down for you. And with some of the special guests that we have lined up for Money Matters this year, I got to meet a couple of them this past weekend at VCon. Super excited to see Clinton Sparks coming in hot for Money Matters. He might even do some beatboxing and drop some beats.
Maybe I can give him my voicemail message.
He can produce that.
He can produce
it.
That might be his next Grammy.
Yep.
I tell you.
Right there with Lady Gaga.
There you go.
Hey, I want everybody to make plans too in your calendar. I know. Here's what happens when you see these things and you're like, oh, I want to do that or I want to do that, but you have to plan it. You have to put it in your calendar. Mark your calendars for Money Matters. The Wednesday before Money Matters, the first annual Shank Dilly Cup, 32 players, two in teams of two. So
is it
16
the Shank Dilly
teams
Cup or the Dilly Cup?
Two. I don't know.
I feel like the Dilly Cup's a little bit like
the Dilly Cup. All right, the Dilly Cup, the first annual Dilly Cup. 16 teams of two. We're going to be having a format. It's going to be super fun. We're going to have tons of prizes. We're working on a couple celebrity two-sums or four-sums, right? So you might, if you don't have a partner, if you want to play with a partner, you can sign up as a pair. You could also sign up for a chance to play with one of our celebrity golfers. We're going to have some pretty cool names that will be coming in. The format
you didn't tell me I was going to play.
Well, the format is going to be, I think you already said, Kinross, you're going to go. Maybe you could do that.
Oh.
You could lead a trip to the illustrious shopping center of Indianapolis, whatever that is.
There isn't one.
The format is going to be awesome. It's going to be Beat the Joes.
Yeah.
It's going to be Beat the Joes. And then a lot of places do Beat the Pro. But this is going to be Beat the Joes. Me and my celebrity partner.
Do you know who it is yet?
Of course I know who it is. You guys can pretty easily guess who it will be.
I think I know.
So me and my celebrity partner, everybody who beats our score, it's not going to be hard. I'm going to have to fight. I'm going to be in a dog fight. And we've got some really good golfers in our community. So they're just going to automatically win. But me and my celebrity partner, if you beat us, you'll win a prize, special prize. But then we'll also have a first place prize. And we'll also, I think we have a first and second place prize. We'll also have a last place prize. And of course, this golf tournament is going to be done in partnership, in collaboration, our favorite word, with Queued Up, which is the app that is launching here. Queued Up. That means because Queued Up will be there. That means that Swannies will be one of our sponsors. Yes. Swannies puts out some killer gear, and TrueLink. Those are the shoes that I'm currently wearing.
That you actually love. You weren't
love
sure
those
if you
shoes.
were
Wore them today, and we are probably going to be having some custom TrueLinks. You know how much we love custom shoes. So custom TrueLinks. So we're gonna have TrueLink Swannies. We're gonna have celebrities. It'll be a ton of fun. We're gonna have the golf tournament. That's all the Monday before Money Matters. Registrations are gonna go up soon. I know that this will go so fast. So those of you that are poor planners, you need to put it in your calendar so it's already in, because if you see the registrations and you're like, oh, let me see if I can do it, you might not get in.
Yeah.
I already know that the guys at both of our clubs here in Indiana, they already want to get in. I played today with my member partner. He was like, dude, I want to play because it's going to be tons of fun. This is going to be an awesome.
I know that you said celebrity guests. I was saying I'm a celebrity.
I know
so
you are.
I'm gonna
But
play, right?
no, you're not going to play. You're going to take
I
everybody
honestly don't know
to
how
the
to play at
finest
all.
shopping center of Indianapolis.
Right.
You can do that.
Trader Joe's for everyone. I'm just kidding. All right. So
speaking
we're gonna,
of speaking of
yeah.
celebrity guests, when does somebody post up there? I don't know the date. Shame on me. The Ultimate Fighter launches this week, so we want to shout out Michael Chandler.
Oh, we got to. Everybody's got to watch.
Yeah, I want to encourage everybody to plug in on his YouTube channel. He's giving away tons of cool prizes. Hopefully, you can see some influence of our friendship and our collaboration. Tons of cool prizes. He's going to be hosting a pre and post Ultimate Fighter. So a pre-show and then an Ultimate Fighter after show. And I don't know, maybe you might even see guest appearances on the Ultimate Fighter after show. I'd love to go on that show and talk about these knuckleheads beating each other up. I'm a great commentator.
You are?
Yeah, I'll tell them about that. I'm going to get with Jane Sembre. Hey, speaking of Jane Sembre, everybody welcome in Jane
Speaking of
Sembre.
hiring.
Speaking of hiring, Jane Sembre is new director of sales at Black Diamond Club. But not only that, jiu-jitsu, black belt in jiu-jitsu, two-time world champion Jane Sembre. So I'm going to get some tips from her. I'm going to learn all about triangle chokes and arm bars and putting the hooks in. I'm going to go on the after show, the Ultimate Fighter after show. I'm going to talk about all that stuff. I'm going to school Michael Chandler, teach him all about like my techniques, my knowledge game.
The people out there are wondering, when did we move from Bobo Head to Knucklehead? When was that transition occur?
Who said knucklehead?
You did. You called them knuckleheads fighting.
Oh, because those are they're fighters. They're knuckleheads. Knuckleheads. They're fighters.
They got knuckles to the head.
They're not doing anything dumb. They're not ding dongs. They're just knuckleheads. They're out there like they're trying to make it. Props to them.
Well, listen. So we were talking about hiring tonight, and we had a great hire. Jane was our hire this week, and we're so happy to have her on board. But I got to tell you, I've been reading a lot of stuff recently. We've been talking about this for a really long time. That all of a sudden there's going to be a lot of talent available, and through the pandemic, we saw kind of this shift in the job market. I think we also saw a shift in how much people were getting paid, right?
So, and where they had to work.
And how the work environment was, how you engaged with your employees. A lot of things changed during the pandemic. And then all of a sudden, it was really hard to hire, right? It was really hard.
It was impossible.
It was impossible. It was hard to find talent. It was hard to find great people. You had to way overpay for all sorts of individuals. And now what I'm reading is because of all the layoffs that are happening, the job market is starting to open back up again. And I got to tell you, we've said this forever. One of the aftermaths that whatever people will experience is that you will be able to get great people for way less. You just had to wait it out. And now that's what they're reporting. And interestingly enough, so are our clients. I can't tell you in the past couple weeks how many people I have had say to me, I just made another hire and they are way overqualified. I'm so excited. They're lit on fire and they're ready to work. This is the best hire we've had in a very long time. Why? Because we knew this was going to happen. The market's opening up and talent is everywhere. So we're going to talk about hire people, not roles. But number one, I want to encourage you. The most important thing is that if you have talent or lack of talent on your team, I should say, people that you haven't been happy with, haven't been satisfied with their performance, have the same conversation with over and over, this is your sign to start the hiring process again.
Well, and this came up this week with a couple of my clients in conversation that is the key to always be hiring.
That is our
so many times people
always
are just waiting for somebody to leave, and I've said that, like, I have in mind who is on the bench for every position. Also, I have in mind who's on the bench for positions that don't exist. Right? Like, oh, I'd love to hire that person. Like, and I've shared with you, I'd love to hire this person. But I don't even have
I
don't even have like a spot. Like, even though like a spot on the bus, not even an open seat, yet alone a role there's just not an open seat. But when there is an open seat, I know that we would want to do that. That's also the why, for example, with Jane, right? So it takes there's a small window. You know who you want, but then you have a small window to negotiate timing. It wasn't like Jane was sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring,
Right.
right? It's like Jane has had a job at that time, still has
Two
that job,
jobs.
and just had to kind of figure all of that out. And we knew, though, man, this is the perfect person. We had been wanting to hire Jane for a long time because Jane's been with us forever. She's ride or die. Those are things that we're going to talk about, hiring the right people, right?
Right.
It didn't matter what the job is that she came in to do. She was just the right people, the right fit, the right person for this team, for what we were attempting to do. But let's go back to always be hiring. Somebody told me this week that it's so difficult because, like, finding the talent is difficult. It's time. It takes time. And I asked them. I was like, well, that's interesting. Like, what'd you do this weekend? And they're like, oh, I went to this distillery in town. And I looked up the distillery. I was like, tell me the name of the distillery. And I looked it up. It's huge. It was beautiful. Like, had an indoor bar and outdoor sort of seating area. It looked like they played games. It was like a sort of a community place where everybody came together. And I was like, so who served you? And they were like, oh, I had this servant. I work. Were they any good? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, well, why didn't you ask them, right? If they were looking for other work, or if they were looking to make a change, if they were stimulated and they were inspired by working at the distillery, because maybe they were just doing it, and that's very common. I'm just doing this in the meantime. I'm doing this to make ends meet. I'm doing this while I study.
Right.
And so then you get, well, what are you studying? And
For,
maybe
yeah.
they say something that's related to your field, and they could come in as an intern, then they could graduate and then come in with a real job with you, a paid job. You could be a paid intern, or it could be a free intern. All of those things, because you're constantly, not like always be hiring doesn't mean you're always running ads. It just means that you're always looking, that you're always seeking out talent.
Yes.
The other thing is that I think that and this might be a story, so I'll be vulnerable here with everybody, but I do think is a consideration, because I literally said this on at the over the top mastermind dinner, and maybe these guys watch. The owners of Prime 47 are my friends, but there's there was one particular server that, we had a lot of attention on us with 85 people in the room, and there's one particular server that kind of stole the show. Like, it seemed like every time I turned around, she was there kind of running things. And I was like, man, she would be great. She would be awesome. And then I told myself this story. I was like, yeah, but do you know how much she must make at Prime 47, like, as a server? Right? Because that's a high end steakhouse. She must get paid quite well. But here's the thing. So, one, always looking for talent does not mean always running ads. Number two, inside of that search for talent, you never know, right? So I didn't, and it was
People
busy,
will
and I'm
often
through observation.
exchange like environment for
Yes.
less pay.
Yeah, I
So
would
you
love
have to
to maybe
understand that
potentially
too.
in that
Yeah.
case, I would love to maybe take a little bit less, but to have a little more stable hours as far as like daytime, and not have to
Yeah.
be asked to
Working
close
every single weekend.
and every
Yeah.
weekend, right? And so always looking out, but then always not, but always not being afraid to have that conversation to, like you said, to figure out what sort of motivates and drives them, because it might not just be money,
Yeah.
right? Because I agree. Like, being a server, and you were a server at Cheesecake Factory for a very long time, and you've told me, like, I mean, they make a lot of money. Um, and so I thought, like, well, I mean, maybe not the same kind of amount of money that I would pay somebody coming in entry
Right.
level with us, but that's not a good. That's not smart. That's bad. That was shame on me.
Right.
That's not the way that you want to think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, like, I wouldn't be here right now in this moment if I wasn't poached. I
Right.
mean, that's just the reality of it. I worked at a bank. I was a bank teller, and a chiropractor literally slid me her card. I didn't even know what chiropractic was, and said, "I want you to work for me." And that's what started my entire journey and trajectory. And that is the reason that I am here in this moment. So not only do you need to always be poaching, as we say, because you want good talent and you want to hire people for your place of business, but you never know by giving them that opportunity how it can shift and change their life, I mean, and so I think that that's vitally important. But
And I also want to share like this process. I want to
yeah.
kind of walk through it, but at the same time, I want to shout out Taylor Welsh. I think, if I'm mistaken, and I don't know who would have said this, but I'm gonna say it's Taylor Welsh said this, and And I believe that the line I saw somewhere that he had written was, people had asked him, "How do you hire A players?"
Mm.
And he was like, "I don't.
You find them.
No,
Yeah.
I hire C players and turn them into A players." And I think that's also interesting. And so and that resonates with me because I don't know that I would necessarily say that myself, because I could see like finding a B player and elevating them to an A
Well, it depends
player.
on how you're qualifying that like
Sure.
ABC player. We're talking about skill set, because if we're talking about skill set, that's super in alignment with what we're saying
Yes.
tonight.
Yes.
We're
That's what I'm
hiring a
saying.
personality and we're
Yes.
teaching the
Yeah.
skill from C to A.
Yeah. Not a bobo head.
Yeah.
So, and that's exactly like what I'm.
Yeah.
That's my point. I want to find the right people, and the right people can become A players, by developing their skill set if they are provided the tools, right?
Yeah.
So they can't do it on their own. If they're provided the tools and the structure. Now, most people are out there just like winging it, kind of this like, hey, nobody taught me. Now, I also though have to say, let's take James for example, the voice of
Mhm.
God over there. Like, I can't teach him anything about using, editing tools and, all of the cool things that he does.
Mhm.
But I can make sure that he has the tools available. So oftentimes, there might be a course,
Right.
or something,
Or equipment
or a
yeah,
connection,
or
right? I
people.
want you to meet, yeah, so I can meet other people, or I have people in my circles that have, people that edit or that do videos or that have experience in social media, etc. And then I could introduce them to James. And if I have the relationship capital, I could ask, can they help James? And we've had that a lot, in a lot of different areas for us, from helping with social media, emails, copy. Because those are things that necessarily I wouldn't be able to teach.
Absolutely.
But we want to make sure that we get everybody who's on the bus the tools that they need in order to be able to get to where they need to go for you to become an A player,
Mhm.
right? And listen, there's a lot of examples of this. Michael Jordan, if you've watched that movie Air, he was the number 3 draft pick. So I don't even know that we'd call him the A player coming out of that class. Even
Right.
on his team, they had Worthy on that team. I don't even know if he was the A player on the Tar Heels team that won the national championship. In fact, he wasn't. He was not the A player. In fact, that's why he got the ball, because they were double teaming James Worthy, throw it over to a wide open Michael Jordan. Michael wanted the ball, so he had the A player mentality, but he was not the A player.
Right.
But then over time, right, and that was what it was, is they had said that he had that desire. He was going to be. He was going to outwork everybody. So that's what we're looking for, right? So here's the steps to this. First and foremost, I think you have to define your culture, your work culture, your business culture. So many of the people that we talk to can't really define that. Again, this goes in the bucket with ideal client. It goes with all these like ethereal things that nobody really wants to actually do. Everybody just says it. Coaches say it. People that want to coach, oh, I want to coach. So I'm going to say ideal client, what you stand for statement. I'm just going to like throw these things out, but they themselves don't actually have it ingrained in practice. And so culture is that culture needs to be defined rather than some fluffy statement that you wrote on your wall, like this is the company's vision and mission statement.
Yeah,
I'm going through that with Sherman College now, and I'm like, you know what? I mean, I get it from like a academic standpoint, from a formal standpoint, but what's really important is the culture, and that rarely gets defined, right? But if you saw, Phil Knight had
I
those.
was gonna say part of the culture is defined by those rules,
Yes,
right?
you have
Those
rules. We have that in our business. There's rules and there's culture. Not that we're going over those tonight, but it's defined. It's very clear. Because once I am able to understand what the culture is, then I'm able to understand who would fit the
in the
culture.
culture.
Now, this is very, very, very important. This is not to say that some people are bad. It's just that they are not fits. It's also not to say that people cannot become not a fit.
Right.
And when they become not a fit, it's not to say that they're bad.
Mhm.
It's just they're no longer a fit for
the
the culture.
right?
Right. So, you have this a lot in sports. You have these tremendous athletes, superstars that join the team and they perform really well. But then life gets nice, life gets comfortable. They don't put the time in at practice, they don't dedicate as much time to their craft, they're not as hungry, and they are no longer a fit for the culture. Right.
Also, I just want to say when it comes to culture, don't be scared to shift or change the culture too. culture also changes sometimes when
but
you
not
grow and
but
scale.
not to the team, not to the player, not to the team member, not to the employee.
When you grow and scale, sometimes you didn't know what was necessary in the culture in order to be
To
there.
grow and scale, but not
Yes.
to the player. I'll
Yes.
give you a great example: Antonio Brown,
Okay.
Pittsburgh Steelers, amazing talent. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin, as you know, have a tremendous culture and defined culture.
Yes.
Antonio Brown became not a fit for the culture. He was a fit, and he performed very well.
Right.
He became not a fit.
No, sure. He
And what was
definitely became not a
great
fit.
about Mike Tomlin is Mike Tomlin got rid of him before everybody else realized that he wasn't a fit. People
He
were like,
became
"What
not
is
a
he
fit for
doing?"
everyone's
Well,
culture,
and then he
but
became
like,
not a fit for
let's be
everyone's
real.
culture. But this is very typical.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of times, I got to tell you, a lot of times people are lured in. You know, Antonio Brown's a great example by social media, by the comedy,
Yeah.
by the by the stuff that's going on the front, and they can't see the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And then they criticize, right? Because Antonio Brown was stirring it up, man. He posted that he posted the call that John Gruden made to him, right?
Mhm.
So then they criticize because you didn't get to see what was behind the scenes.
Right.
This is for all of you that struggle because you have someone on your bus. You have an Antonio Brown in the locker room, and you have the other players that are asking that you do something, but you're afraid. You're like, oh, I can't make that change because what will it do to my business? Well, I'm telling you, it's doing worse for your business because you're not making that change
Mhm.
because it's no longer a cultural fit. And actually, by you not recognizing that this is not a cultural fit, is hurting the culture.
Right.
Because the other people are like, look, man, if this one's getting away with that, if this one doesn't have to do this, and this one doesn't have to do, follow the culture, then why do I?
And if they're not fit for the culture, they're going to complain about the culture, which is going to wreck the culture for the rest of the people.
Right. It
Yeah.
begins to make them question.
Yeah.
So, number one, define your culture. You must define your culture. Now, once I've defined that, number two is I begin to write down, and this is kind of like ideal client, I begin to write down the characteristics of what makes a great fit
Yes.
in the culture. This is not to say, and look, I want you to go on Indeed right now, look at your local community. Um, this is not excellent at Word, has great database
Yeah, they're not
skills,
skill sets.
can type 100 words a minute. This is where people make a mistake. People friendly. Like what makes a great fit for the culture is loyalty, hardworking, so work ethic,
Yeah.
showing up on time, honesty, not lying to themselves, right? So you start to say like because there's a lot of people that you meet and people hate this, but if I am talking to you before like and before an interview and I'm asking you like what went wrong in your last job and you're like, well, my boss. If it starts with that, you're not a good fit for
Right.
this
Right.
culture.
Well,
You're a good
that's what
fit
I was
somewhere
going to say.
else.
I think that's really important that once you identify what personality types would fit in the culture and what like you want out of somebody and who the best fit is, then you next step need to identify how do I recognize that
Right.
and how do I test that. And I think that's what people miss a lot because they're like, I'm looking for somebody that would be extremely loyal, show up on time, has a great mindset around money, has a work ethic where they're willing to do extra work when
No fear.
necessary. Yeah, has no fear and can talk to anyone. That's all great in theory, but not if you can't identify that in somebody, right? And I think that
Well, what
a
happens
lot of
is a lot of
people
people ask
do
people
that.
that.
Yes.
If you ask
Yeah.
somebody that, especially in an interview, they're going to be
Of
like,
course they're
"Oh,
going
of
to be
course.
like,
Yeah.
I can talk to
Hey,
anybody.
do you have a problem talking to people?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big problem of mine. Don't hire me." They're going to be like, "No, of course." Until
So-
then you're in that situation and then they can't talk. Or
Yeah.
are you extremely loyal? Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm ride or die. I'm super loyal. Until then you ask them what happened in your last job and they're like, "My boss was a narcissist." And you're like, "Well, yeah, if you flip-flop and you can't be a certain way here, then you're not going to be that way in my business either."
Yeah.
I want to look at what their relationship is like at home. I want to look at what their even hypothetical situational awareness. Let's say that you saw a coworker stealing. What would you do? Right. And again, if it was in an interview, if we've gotten to a formal interview, well, I would report them to the authorities. Like that's what you say in an interview versus like, they would say something. Let's say they say whatever, but then say, well, give me an example of a time that you've been in that situation. Right. Where that's happened to you. Have you ever been in that situation?
How did you handle that?
Handle that? Because I'm looking to see what cultural fits are.
I also like to really test out. Like if you're like, I need somebody that will talk to anybody, you really should create things that put them into a situation where you can look at that and see if they actually do that before you pull them into the interview. So for instance, I have a lot of clients that say that this is one of the really important components in somebody's personality that's necessary for the job position they're going to hire, great. Well, then show up late to the interview and leave them in your waiting area or leave them at the restaurant and have somebody else there that's watching how they interact with others. Because you'll be able to figure out really quickly if they're left and they're there for 10 minutes with nothing to do. Are they going to talk to the hostess if it's a lunch interview? Are they going to talk to the front desk if it's a chiropractic office? Like, actually, how are they going to show up? That's how you figure out who people really are. So you need to create actual steps in your hiring process that help uncover the personality traits that you're looking for.
And then you just have to find out, you have to gauge interest, right? Or stimulate interest.
Yes.
You have to get interest. And I mean, that's super simple because, again, it's conversational. And again, if you are looking for people that will talk to anybody, you're just talking to somebody and you're like, so tell me, what's your story?
Yeah.
Like, what, you're here working, you're doing this, whatever. What's your story? What is your life's ambitions? What are you trying to do? And then they tell you, because you're already observing them in whatever situation. It might be in their work, but it might be in just any situation. And now I'm just trying to see, like, I'm continually analyzing and assessing whether or not they will be a good fit for the culture. But I'm asking them what their story is, because that begins to open up the conversation about whether or not there's even the possibility of them working with you. And I'll give you some examples where it's not. One time I had asked one of our favorite servers, "What's your story?" And she said, "I
Oh,
am
yeah.
serving while I'm in school, because I am preparing to take my, those financial tests.
Something 7 tests
Yeah,
or
those,
yeah.
those
Yeah.
important tests." And I was like, "Oh,"
Very important test.
and she was like, I was like, "Because you want to become a financial planner, you want to work in the finance world?" And she said, "Yes." "Why do you ask?" And I was like, "Well, because if you had said literally anything else, I might have offered you a job to work with us. But because you're so passionate about that, and I don't work in the finance world, I'm not going to offer you a job. But I know tons of people in the finance world. So if any of them are ever looking for an intern, I would be happy to recommend you, because I think you're really great. You're very hireable." So sometimes people tell you. Another one, same thing in a restaurant, said, "I'm studying food and beverage management in college." I was like, "Oh, so do you someday aspire to, maybe you want to run this restaurant?" And he said, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I don't want to pull them away from that, because I don't want them to come work with me, even though they would be a great fit in the culture, doing something where they're always dreaming about this other thing. James over here, he worked at Delta, and he wasn't like, "I hope I, become a professional Delta counter person." He was like, "Yeah, I'm just doing this," and he has a passion for video and everything. He already had a reel, and so it was like, "Yeah, let's take a look at that." And so that was a natural fit, because I was like, "Hey, well, we could use somebody that works in that space. Why don't you come over?" And it was just a natural fit. As soon as we met James, and James was around us and the team, it was like, "Yeah, this is going to
This would
be
be
perfect."
perfect.
Right.
Right.
So then, once we've done that, we're going to kind of move it from there into more of a formal setting.
Yep.
So if they express that they have interest, then we could invite them to a formal interview. And the formal interview needs to be run in a certain way. Through Black Diamond Club, if you jump in there, we can help to train you on that process. It's slightly uncomfortable. It's slightly unconventional,
Right.
but it needs to be run in a certain way that you can unmind now in the formal process. So here's the thing: there's tons of books on how to interview. There's tons of books on both sides, how to ask
Be
the
an
interview questions
interviewee and an
and how to
interviewer.
be
Yeah.
interviewed. But the problem is this: is that because there's so much books and so much content around this, they kind of know what you're going to ask. And so they have prepared answers, and then the prepared answers don't let you actually get to the truth of discovering whether or not they're good fits for the culture, because they're trying to give you answers that are trying to make them appear over and above the other candidates,
Right.
right? Versus, because they don't know the culture, versus giving you answers that show you that they would be a good fit for the culture. So our interview process, radically different, allows us to look inside and see whether or not they would fit the culture. And it has a lot to do with the things that happen during the interview. So if your business is fast paced, in the interview you sit down and it's this very slow, "Well, tell me a little bit about yourself," and I was reviewing your resume. If it was fast paced, you need to have a fast paced interview. And I want
Yeah.
to see, does that throw you off?
Or
Right.
can you
And
keep up? Can you
are
adapt?
you
Can
put
you? Yeah.
off by that? If I'm like, "Hey, Lacey, listen, I got 5 minutes, so tell me why I should give you this job." And if you're like, "What?" And if you even feel like disrespected, well, good, because then you would hate working with me if I work in a fast paced environment and that's
Right.
how I am. And so we want to make sure that that interview environment fits the culture, and that it shows me whether or
Yep.
not they would slot in whether or not they would fit in. There's a couple other things that we like to do to sort of disarm them, throw them for a loop, if you will, so that we get to see the true them. Because we get them outside the box of everything that they had prepared for, that they thought the interview was going to be, and then it's not that, and now we're inside the world of truth.
One other thing I would just add, then after you actually find a great hire and then you bring them into the system and you bring them into the culture and you're like, oh yeah, James was a great fit. What you should do immediately is review how that process went and write down, how did I see in James that he could talk to anybody?
Mhm.
What identifiers did I notice in his personality type that now I know make him a good fit? Because a lot of times people don't reflect on the interview process for a really good hire. And then it makes it really difficult to see that again because you never actually reflected on it. It's really easy for us to remember red flags. It's much harder for us to remember green flags.
Yes.
I think that's super important.
I just wanna add in there when it comes to the interview process. And I know it's crazy. It's been almost 4 years, but I really appreciated the way that you guys kind of brought me in, kind of the way that you did. And I know I've told the story of how I met Sean, but um, the initial kind of meeting with the entire team was me coming over to Shadow to your house, and you basically kind of left it up to me to stay as long as I needed to, or as short as I needed to capture some content and then kind of show you guys an example. But you never really forced me out, and I was kind of vibing with you guys. You guys had Trey and Bryce over. You were just kind of meeting, and it was just this really organic progression of the day, capturing content. Got to learn more about you guys, and then at the end it was kind of like, well, we're going to dinner. Do you want to come along? And I had been there way longer than probably you guys expected, definitely longer than I expected. And I was like, well, in my own mind, I was like, well, since I've stayed this long, I am kind of hungry. Let's go to dinner. And it worked out well. It was really important that, one, I was a good fit for you guys, and then two, that that you guys were a good fit for me. And so that was kind of my process and my mindset as well. And spending the whole day with you guys definitely confirmed that. So I just want to say I appreciated that process, and I think that that's super valuable for a lot of people who are looking to hire, is to do something somewhat unconventional like
Yeah, I
that.
mean, and
Well,
that's actually a really great point. I mean, one of the things that we did, because we had another person come in to interview for the same position, and we wanted to see, like, how much work are you willing to put in to actually get to know us, to create and capture our essence and put it into content that would be deliverable. And the other person was there for what, like an hour? And then she was like, yeah, I'm done. And we were so shocked by the shortness of that time frame. And then James was like, I'll stay all day, which showed us that he could put himself into situations that potentially could be uncomfortable and make it great. Also, that he was willing to put in the work that was necessary to get the job done, right? And we left that up to him. And I think that that was very important for us to see and capture. And that was why we created an environment like that.
that makes me happy because that is also our culture. Our employees know that by nature of our job, by our job, we talk about them, right? So we talk about how we hire,
Yeah,
how we train, how we pay, how we bonus. I know that some people are like, "Oh, I don't like that." Even clients, I don't like how you talk about how you bonus. You got to pay us a lot of money because we want to pay them a lot of money.
right.
It's not because we're just money hungry fools. That's what everybody likes to put out there. The same people that are saying that we're money hungry are knocking us because we bonus so aggressively, and then saying that's why it's so expensive to work with us. But by nature, that's the culture.
Yep.
We're comfortable with money. They're comfortable with money, but they have to be comfortable with us talking about them being comfortable with money in front of other people,
Right.
right? Because so if James was like, "Hey, man, this is weirding me out," like, please don't talk about how I got hired, then he wouldn't be a good
He wouldn't be
fit
a good fit for
because
culture.
that's the nature of our job. In
Right.
fact, he has to capture it, and then he shares it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he has to say like, "Dude, I get it, and I'm comfortable, and I want to be a part of it. I don't mind sharing, how I get paid, how I get bonused, what I do, the long hours that I work, all of that, because that's just part of the culture, because that's how we help more people.
Yes.
we got to get these 3 names drawn.
got
So I got to
3
tell
names. I
everybody a
know.
couple of things. First of all, tonight is the Vanderpump reunion show.
Oh my goodness.
So let's not
I
screw
didn't
around
even
here.
know.
Scandival going reunion show. I don't know how many parts we're going to have.
Holy gee.
We got the Florida Panthers playing tonight, and so
We
you
clearly
should
have
be
a lot
on
going
the
on.
Florida Panthers tonight. That's going to be a big one. Miami Heat probably take game. No, they don't. They lose. They lose
They
tomorrow.
lost last night. We said
Yeah, they lose,
if they had
and because the
taken it, we would
Nuggets
be.
swept, these sports teams, they like to
I fell
have.
asleep last
They
night.
don't like 2 sweeps, right, James? They don't like, so they're gonna drag on that Celtics Heat series a little bit. But I will tell you that tonight, Vanderpump Rules reunion is going to be amazing.
Canasta time.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're giving away $300 right here for a
Who
lucky
wants
winner.
the
Here's the rules of the
money?
game. James is going to announce your name. If he announces your name, you are the
Show
winner.
me the money.
But then you must claim your prize. So you just claim your prize by saying, "It's me" in the chat. You
I'm
have
here.
to be here live to claim the prize as soon as James reads your name. You have 30 seconds to show your face.
All right. Name number 1. We have Brandon Song.
Brandon Song. Let's go,
Brandon.
Brandon. Let's go.
Let's
Brandon
go,
Song.
Brandon.
No.
Student.
No.
Student, I believe.
Brandon, are you on?
I had a chance to meet him
Yeah.
in Austin.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh, see? Yep. Everybody's like, come on, where you at? Where are you at?
Jimmy
Everybody
Buckets
knows.
going down in game
Let's
number
go, Brandon.
5.
Let's go. Come on, everybody. Come on,
Let's
everybody.
go, Brandon.
I can't believe he wasn't on.
Brandon-
I know. That's what I'm
Brandon-
saying, Chris Brown.
What?
No way this guy wasn't on. I can't believe he wasn't on tonight.
Hey, so wait a
Oh,
minute. Wait
no,
a minute.
But it was like, but I mean, we'd have to
Is
get.
he-
That
did he
was.
comment?
I feel like that was way after.
Oh.
I feel like that was like text message, get your
Somebody
butt
texted
on.
him. Did someone text him?
What do you guys think? Was that way after the clock went out? I hate when that happens. What did we have to do that one time?
We had to go to
The-
to
We had to go to the replay?
VAR.
VAR.
We had to go to VAR.
I don't know.
If you see, this is why you guys got to be on and commenting, because Brandon would definitely get the benefit of the doubt if he had,
He had
left a
commented
comment
before,
and-
for sure.
Yes.
But if
Make
somebody,
him do something.
like what?
Like, what are we supposed to make him do?
Like write a
I
paper?
know, but it. Write a paper. Was he in? Was he on?
All right, I'm gonna go with he was on.
All right, we're
Okay,
gonna go with he was
winner.
on. We're gonna get. You know what?
Yes, everybody's voting he was on.
Okay.
Adrian Lara, she
Some
says
people
he
are
was
saying
on.
it froze.
Adrian's the arbiter.
Some people say.
All right,
All
winner,
right,
winner,
winner.
Brandon
Student dinner.
Song.
Brandon, I'm so excited.
Brandon, we are
that
gonna
is-
make
you know
you do
what?
something.
That-
more. We're
I-
gonna make you do something at Money Matters.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
Maybe you're gonna have to-
karaoke in
yeah,
front of
or-
the whole.
Or at least come up and like make a speech or something on stage.
Yeah, something really great.
That'll be
Brandon,
helpful, right? We'll have
Yeah.
Brandon do like a
about showing up.
maybe we'll have Brandon do a little
You know-
presentation. It'll give him some confidence. We'll get him in
Everybody's
front
like,
of
students
people.
get a break. Only like a couple people are like, he missed it. Hey, but listen, I know. We're going to let the students slide. You know, they get a little bit more than 30 seconds. If you're a student, apparently you get 45 seconds on the clock. No, but honestly, I that makes me super happy that two weeks in a row that students are picking up the cash. You know what I mean? Because
Heck yeah.
I feel like, I mean,
It's
we all
just the
know,
way
we've
it
all
is,
been
right?
there.
It's the
right.
complacent docs. It's the complacent older peeps. Too old. I'm too cool for this stuff.
No, there's a
they
lot
can
of
be
docs on
here.
here. That's
There's a
not
lot
true.
of
There's
docs.
not a
But it's
a
the
lot of
student. It's weird if
non-complacent
the student
people.
names get called. Hey, we had somebody's name
But
got
here-
called and they weren't here and they quit BDC.
Yeah, that's funny. But here's what I want to say, okay? Brandon won the money, but I want you guys to proclaim right now that the right hire, the perfect person is coming your way, because that will bring you more abundance and more return in your business than anything
Well,
else.
every week the content on BDC brings way more money than the money we give away. The money
Yeah.
we give away is just an added bonus. If you just would apply this stuff, I'm pretty sure you'd be making tons of money.
Yep.
You just have to just put this into practice. move it off your Wednesday night. Oh, this is what I
Y'all,
watch. This is what I
the
do.
perfect person's already on their way to you. You just have to give them the opportunity to show up.
And you got to be
So
open
let's
to it.
hire
You
some
got to be
people.
open to
That's
it.
right. I love it. All right.
All right,
Back
Vanderpump
again.
Rules.
Back again next week. $300.
Vanderpump Rules.
Vanderpump
VPR
Rules
Scandal Ball.
tonight.
Don't miss it. The Ultimate Fighter coming up some of these days. Don't miss it. Be sure you go over there
I'm
and
gonna go read my book.
go over there and subscribe to Chandler's YouTube channel. Put a little comment in there. Sean
Yep.
Lacey told you to stop in. Give him some BDC love.
That's
All
right.
right, everybody. Be back again next week.